I have with me in the studio Mr. Ogbonna Okoko, who is an investment promotion and economic development expert. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily.
All right, thank you for having me.
Now, what are your thoughts on the current state of the economy? I mean, given that we just recently came out of a recession, but we've been told that the growth is still, I mean, you can see the figures yourself, is still very fragile. And also the feedback we're getting in terms of the fact that we're looking to borrow for capital expenditure.
It's quite straightforward, yeah. Because I mean, if you had the kind of negative growth we had, you know, a few quarters, you know, and then we started bouncing back. It's quite obvious that all you need to do at this point is, you know, get your acts in order, increase whatever you need to do to make sure that your economic performance increases. Now, looking at the economy holistically, we can see that, yes, we're on the right path, but we need to do much more than we are doing to actually grow the economy.
Are we really on the right path?
Yes, we are. I mean, for you to be growing, that means you're on the right path. But I mean, growth does not just mean that, yes, we should be happy that we have started growing. No, but until we begin to feel it in every facet of the economy, your growth will still be fragile, just like every other person I've alluded to. Now, coming to the borrowing, see, when options are so minimal, I mean, when there are no other, other things to do, this is the best thing you can do at short term. Now, that means also that the thinking of those who are managing the economy should also go towards what are the things we have to do? Because if you listen to Lagarde, what she said was clearly that countries that depend on oil, that their revenue depend on oil, should be careful how they borrow. Now, which means that, yes, we depend on oil. There's room for diversification, and we're working towards diversification. So that means we need to intensify on whatever it is that we're doing to see how we can increase our revenue so that we won't depend solely on oil to repay some of these loans.
That's the reason why I have to take you back. When you say that we're doing the right things, I recall it was the Minister of Petroleum Resources who said, beg your pardon, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources who said that oil got us into this recession and oil will have to get us out of the recession. Now, some people are saying that is the impact of the prices of oil that is seeing us out of the recession, not really the diversification, which it is that the government says they want to do, that is yet to really show tangible fruit. Yes, there's work going on there, but that has not really had any impact, any significant impact on the GDP. You're a promotions person. What do you think government needs to do to ensure that those other areas, diversification, agriculture, and all the non-oil exports you're looking at will grow?
Yeah, there are a few things that actually affect those areas, whether you like it or not. Because, I mean, if you don't have a sound infrastructure system in your country, you can't move your heavy metals, which are solid minerals, from their locations to your seaports. You can't move your agro product from the farms to your processing plants and outside. You need power to make that happen, which is actually one of the reasons why you must borrow, I'll continue to use the word, in short term, to make sure you support those, to develop those infrastructure, because you need them to affect the other areas of the economy. Because these things, they are not standalone. Because you can't expect to grow your vegetables and then you want to export them without having a solid infrastructure on cargo airport or having solid infrastructure. The same with cassava. Cassava, they are very heavy. You can't move them from one point to another with the bad roads. So you need to also fix your roads to make them good. So I still think, no matter where the debate swings to, everybody must agree that we should borrow at this time. But when we come to solutions, we'll now begin to look at what we need to do to make sure that those borrowing will not be left for our children to pay back. Because, I mean, this is a very strong country with so much potentials. So we have to get those potentials to start working. So I still say that we are on the right path, but the work that needs to be done, we need to do. So everybody has to come together, and then let's begin to support whatever it is. And then again, I always say this, you see, until you have what I call the octopus business model, as government, you can't grow your economy, especially when the economy is very fragile like ours now.
Octopus business, well, I'm going to ask you what that means in just a moment. But then looking at, talking about everybody being on the same page, it does look like everybody who should be on that page are on the same page. I think people will definitely want the economy to pick up. People want the economy to be stronger. And we've seen that in terms of how the representatives, the mood in which they resumed, especially the Senate, when they came back from recess. They wanted to know what was going on, how far with the implementation of the 2017 budget. It was supposed to be a budget which would impute energy and life into the Nigerian economy, and they wanted to know just where we were, and we're told that, oh, there was a loan which was outstanding, and only recently they received the request for that loan because they thought that the request was already with the Senate. But it looks like now that they're all working on the same page. But then there are concerns about whether or not our debt is sustainable. That concern happened recently there and came up again at the IMF annual meetings and World Bank meetings in Washington, D.C. What are your own thoughts on the sustainability of the debt which we hope to, of the loans which we hope to take?
Now, looking at the debt management strategy, that DMO came up with, first things first, you have to reduce your domestic debt and increase your external debt. Because domestic debt comes with a lot of interest, and then you're also trying to crowd out the private sector from having enough liquidity to sustain their businesses. So now this is where the direction for that strategy to work. So yes, it is fragile, but like I said, there's so much hope. Because if you do the right things, it won't be an issue at the end of the day.
What do you think was a preference for domestic debt? Initially, I mean, if we're 80 to 20%, 80% local debt, why do you think that there was a heavy appetite for domestic debt, considering how expensive it was to borrow locally?
These are the things which were shouting over during the last administration, because these are accumulation of debts that accrue from the last administration. So let's get it clear now, because now the new strategy is what we're trying to implement now. If you watch it correctly, you're trying to move away from. And move away from that domestic debt to external debt. So this is actually what is playing out now, because when they mature, they come with high interest rates. And then when you now begin to use your earnings to pay debt as against, using your earnings to support infrastructure and, support development in your economy.